Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we set up the exotic gas siphon, compact assembly lines, the full Runic circuit line, auxiliary fusion, and even americium plasma. I'm just hanging out, scanning some ruined parts, but two of them need a bit more computation than I have. And I wanted to make HPCA optimized computation components, but it needs aquarium PCB graphite nanoparticle coolant, which I don't think I can make yet. It needs utopian aquarium, which kind of needs a whole line of stuff. I think it is doable, it's just kind of a lot of effort for a little more computation when I could just place another HPCA. But it is something I'll have to do sorta soon, because I need to do this whole aquarium line. I don't know when it becomes a hard requirement, but it is something that needs to happen. Anyway, first things first, compact assembly line. To make these, I do need some perfluoroelastomer rubber. There is a bacteria synthesizer skip recipe, but to make this, I need some rubber to get started. So I will be patterning this. This is made from the raw dust, which is made from a couple of different compounds. Hexafluorobutadiene, which is made in an LCR. Perfluoromethylvinyl ether, also made in an LCR. And tetrafluoroethylene. Pretty simple, actually. I have an argon shortage, because the only way to get argon right now, besides, well, I guess I could do this, argon plasma to argon gas, but the only way I currently have going is this distillation tower recipe, which is really bad. I do have access to exotic gas siphoning now. It's kind of a big multi, but it's actually not that expensive. All of these parts are relatively cheap. I think the most expensive part is actually going to be the controller, which does need some UHV stuff, but I can do this now. I do need to make an epic gas collector, or two actually, one for the scan, which also needs more UHV parts, but honestly, it should not be an issue. It is a UEV recipe though, which means I'm gonna have to overclock, or I guess tier skip the assembly lines, but that's fine, I can do that. And I currently have access to two of these recipes. I can also use it as a gas collector if I wanted, but I don't really see the point right now. So I can do the Abydos recipe, which gives me a bunch of noble gases basically, and some other stuff. And I can do the overworld recipe, which is, you know, air, basically, but it's distilled and everything, so I get some argon out of this. Still not very good for argon, but it's better than nothing. And it has parallels, so that's nice. So quick little detour to make the exotic gas siphon. Oh boy, that took a while, but I got my compact assembly lines. One thing to note about the compact assembly line is it only accepts one energy hatch, so no tier skipping. Which means these probably have to stay, or at least one of them has to stay. In fact, I think I will just make it one of them and remove three of them, and I'll build the compact assembly lines in place of them over here. I no longer need to use this goofy ass item P2P setup, because I can instead use stocking buses on this thing. That's gonna make life so much easier. And I'll also blast up some cerium tritelluride to make the UHV multi-amp energy hatches, because why not? And speaking of power, really quick before I do this build, these things are amazing. These make so much power. 62.9 million EU per tick when at max rotor speed. That's pretty good. It does absolutely gobble my nickel plasma though. I do have a pretty large stockpile, but I am absolutely negative on my nickel plasma. Each one of these consumes about 600 nickel plasma per second, 2.4 buckets being consumed per second by these four, and I don't make that much. I only make like 80 per second, and I think I have 4 of them running nickel plasma. So I only make 320 nickel plasma per second. And upgrading the fusion thingies in the center is just going to double that at most. So it's just going to be 640. which is not enough. So what I'm thinking of doing is upgrading all of these to the tier 4 reflector casings and getting rid of all of these Mark 1 and Mark 2 reactors because I think they don't really make anything that I need. I guess there's duranium, so I'll have to think about that, and titanium. But europium doesn't need to be made here, and americium can just be done in the Mark 3s. So I'm going to replace a bunch of these with the Mark 3 reactors and have them all make nickel plasma. And I imagine that is still not going to be enough. So I might need to make even more fusion. Anyway, let me put down these compact assembly lines and then I'll take a look at what to do next. Alright, here is my compact assembly line automation. Originally, I wanted to do this with an ME drive and the mega bulk item storage cells, but unfortunately they need to be partitioned to accept items, so it's not going to work here for a dynamic sort of thing where any item could appear. So the setup here is very similar to the assembly line setup from before, except instead of P2Ps, I have a storage subnet for each slice. So looking at this top slice, this is the fluid one. This one is actually going to work with mega fluid storage cells. So I've used an ME chest here. Fluids get stored in this fluid cell and are auto-pulled into the machine with stocking input hatches. As for the items, I'm using super chests. These can store up to 4 million of any items, so I don't think this is going to clog anytime soon. I have storage buses on this red subnet, same as what used to exist over here, with the decreasing priority from top to bottom. So items get stored in the super chest, and then the alternating blue and orange slices have storage buses to pull the items out, and stocking input buses that auto-pull the items from the super chest into the machine. So each slice pulls the contents of the respective super chest. And then the outputs are returned back, same as always. So, for example, if I request 100 LUV motors, things get stored in the chest like this, and are auto-pulled into the machines. And these are pretty fast because I'm running them at 16 amps of UHV. So that's UIV speeds. That's pretty fast. Finally. I don't need to level maintain my assembly line crafts. I don't need to request things 4 at a time. I'm finally free. One thing to note though is because of the way the stocking buses work, if I have 2 of the same item in a recipe, like a fine wire or something, they have to be named differently. Because even if I somehow manage to put half of it in this chest and half of it in this chest, stocking buses can only pull an item in one location at a time. So if this had fine wire and this had fine wire, only one of these would be able to pull fine wire and the other one wouldn't be able to pull it, and the recipe would not succeed. Besides, if I tried to push fine wire in here, it would all go into one super chest anyway. So if I need to split it, I need to rename it, and that's what the forming press is for. I've shown that before. Alright, back to Runic Convergence Infusion. There's a short little processing line here. I need magnesium nitride, quick little ZPM LCR recipe. I need a netherite trisulfate complex, another quick little ZPM LCR recipe. This needs pure netherite, so that hurts a little bit. This is combined with some other stuff to make netherite hexamine sulfate, as well as netherite tetrahydroxide dust. That makes voidic nitride and astral fluorosilicate. It's all a bunch of LCR recipes. And finally, a mixer recipe to make primordial nitrosilicate, which gets vacuum chem reacted with some non-consumed ancient runicalium bolts, and a 90% partial vacuum to make runic convergence infusion. 90% means I need a UHV vacuum pump. That's fine. And runic convergence infusion is used for quite a few different things. So I'll get that set up. Most likely just going to pattern it, to be honest, and then we can look into runic convergence circuit boards. That was pretty easy, and honestly, pretty quick to craft. Now, runic convergence circuit boards. Needs ZPM parts, LUV circuits, runic convergence infusion, and a sterile cleanroom. Converting it into a printed circuit board is kind of the same process as for every other circuit board, except it's in a sterile cleanroom. With those, I can make data DNA disks, which are like the next tier of data modules. Sterile cleanroom again, with UHV circuits, QRAM chips, HNAND memory chips, and HNOR memory chips, which I haven't made yet. These are pretty easy to make. I just need strontium, which I'm pretty sure I have. And actually, I could have made these a while ago, but there was no reason to because they're not used in anything until now. Besides that, there is another layer before I can make the actual circuits here. Runic convergence PCBs get converted into Runic convergence processing units. And these processing units, finally, are what actually go into circuits. Circuits need living parts, which I have, crystal socks, all of this is fine. And that gets me the single-step ZPM tier circuit, the Runic processor. And immediately, to progress on Runic circuits, I go straight to the assembly line. Needs a bit of ancient Runic Callium as well, but this makes Runic processor assemblies. These I can upgrade yet again into Runic processor supercomputers, which finally are upgraded one more time into Runic processor mainframes, which are UEV circuits. Now that probably unlocks quite a bit of stuff. Most notably, as indicated by the quests, there's the Epic Parallel Control Hatch, 1024 parallels, that's pretty good. But on top of that, the Epic Absolute Parallel Mastery Hatch. These hatches can't go on just any machine, but they provide parallels without requiring extra power consumption per parallel. So it's just free extra processing. That's pretty crazy. Now it doesn't go on just any multi, but I believe it goes on this thing, the Auxiliary Boosted Fusion Reactor Mark 1. These do take absolute parallel hatches, and they are basically a fusion reactor, but with parallels. It's like Compact Fusion from GTNH, but better, because it has the usual fusion overclock, it has the usual reflector overclock, and of course it has the absolute parallels. So these are pretty good. They're also pretty large, and I would imagine pretty expensive. I haven't looked at the cost, but I hope my nickel plasma can last long enough that I can get to this, otherwise I might need to do a bit of plasma infra expansion before, but this is going to be a big boost over what I have. And finally, the folding aquarium stabilizer. This is just a new machine, and it looks like there's a little bit of an automation challenge based on the tooltip, but I will look at that when I actually make it. What this is used for is the whole lepton/aquarium line that I mentioned before. That will let me make Utopian Aquarium, which gets a bunch of other stuff, and pretty much, completes the entire chapter. So I'm gonna get to work making Runic processor mainframes. UEV circuits are done. I didn't notice this before, by the way, but since I've made void ingots already, it seems that I have already made progress into this quest tab. This needed to be checkboxed, which I just did, and I just need to hold a raw void ingot and a normal void ingot, and then the push for the ancient Stargate actually begins. But I don't want to start that today. That'll probably be next episode. For today, I want to do Utopian Aquarium, and I want to do the Aux1 fusion reactor, because I really need to get my nickel plasma in order so that I can run these all the time. So I just got done patterning the full Aux1, and I can just afford it. I don't know if that means it's cheap, or if it means I'm rich, or both, but let's go. 5 quests. Auxiliary fusion, just in time. This makes a pretty good amount of nickel plasma per second, but I think I need a second one. Hopefully I'll be able to make it with my remaining nickel plasma, but it's not looking promising. One little note, by the way, you need a minimum of 2 input hatches, so I had to place this this dummy input hatch just to finish the structure. I'm gonna hide it, but cool. This thing looks really cool, but building these rings is a bit of a nightmare. I also don't think there's really a nice wall share for this. At least I can't find one. I could share like this entire ring actually and have another auxiliary going like this, but that's kind of ugly. I don't know if I want to do that. I'll probably just continue replacing the old rings with this the new auxiliary one, because this thing is fast. This thing feels good. I'll work on that. I'm also going to make the folding aquarium stabilizer. Surprisingly, nothing new here. Just the controller itself, which is not really an issue. Actually, I'm going to quickly make a bacteria synthesizer. There's a couple of nice recipes here that I'm just kind of sleeping on right now. And I've got all this bacterial fluid just sitting in storage, doing nothing. Well, that crafted quickly. I think I'm gonna move all of these recipes into the synthesizer. And then instead of scaling my passive production, I'm just gonna get rid of it. And when I need to, I'll scale bacteria instead. Will I come to regret this decision? Find out in 4 episodes. It's also maybe time to replace the Naquata line with a Naquata chem line reduction. Yeah, this is pretty fast. In fact, there is a full loop that can be done here. I get 2 antimony, 4 hydrogen, and 14 fluorine gas back, which I can actually send to another chem plant to make fluoroantimonic acid. So that is just perfectly looped, and I am now drowning in trinium and enriched Naquata and Naquadria. I also went ahead and blasted all of the hot ingots from the sulfates, so I'm pretty good on this stuff for a while. Here's something I forgot about, by the way. Americium 245 plasma. So I don't really need to scale up nickel plasma anymore. I can actually switch to this. And this has the nice side effect of making americium when I burn it in the plasma gen. This is an aux recipe, but it's ZPM, and auxiliary boosted fusion reactors are UHV. So I get 2 overclocks. So 4 times as fast for 4 times the power. And this is made of hydrogen and liquid plutonium-238. And plutonium-238 is made from nuclear reactors, specifically from neptunium fuel rods, which are made from neptunium-237, which I can get from uranium-238 fuel rods. So I'm gonna scale up my U-238 production. I don't think I even need to. I'm probably good with all this uraninite, but I'm gonna start passively processing that and turning it into fuel rods and setting up some passive nuclear reactors to burn them so that I can put this thing on americium-245 instead. And by the way, my total nickel plasma use is 2,400 millibuckets per second, like I said, but my actual power use doesn't come close to that. I left the server on overnight, and I got a lot of nickel plasma. I'm pretty chillin' right now. So I don't think there's enough time left in this episode for me to do the full aquarium line. So instead, I'm gonna set up the nuclear reactors on another level of this building, which, by the way, I added some walls to. Doesn't that look nice? I think it looks nice. During all this waiting time, I've been adding little decorations around. Still a lot of stuff that's incomplete. I'm probably going to do a building stream pretty soon. Anyway, I'm going to add another floor here, set up my passive nuclear reactors and uranium processing, and I will start burning americium plasma. Oh, I didn't show you how long it burns for. It's crazy. 49 seconds per millibucket. That's crazy. For comparison, nickel plasma is 9 seconds. So this americium plasma is going to feel really good. Oh my god, it's even better than I thought because I forgot about the 4 absolute parallels. This is so fast. This is a lot of power. Okay, cool. Awesome. Very nice. Over here I have my full uraninite processing. And I thought for a second that there was a beautiful wall share here, but there's not. I thought I could like fit this ECR into this 3x3 gap, but the sides here would conflict. Oh, it would have been so cool. Imagine like a little ECR just sitting over here. That would be so cool. I got 2 nuclear reactors for the 2 types of fuel rods. I got an ECR, chem plant, forming press, centrifuge, and extractor. And I get quite a few byproducts out of this as well, like plutonium-244, 239, lead, neptunium-237, uranium-235, 238, and some oxygen. And I am slowly going through my uraninite stash. Once this is gone, then production will stop, and eventually I'll run out of americium plasma, but I think that's going to be a while. I think it's going to be a while and a half. Now, I'm not going to switch these to americium plasma just yet. I want to use up the rest of my nickel plasma, which is going down now, so that's something, I guess. And in the meantime, I'll prepare for Utopian Aquarium. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will set up the Utopian Aquarium line and address any other infrastructural issues before starting the next big goal, the Ancient Stargate. See you next time.